It was past midnight when the rain started to fall harder, drumming against the cracked windshield of the old Toyota. The headlights barely cut through the fog, and every drop of rain seemed to echo the tears streaming down Emily Carter's face. She had nowhere to go. Not tonight. Her suitcase sat in the passenger seat, stuffed with clothes she barely had time to fold. The streetlights of small-town Missouri flickered past like fading hopes, and with every mile she drove, her chest ached a little more. She wasn't running away for the first time, but this time she had nowhere to return to. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of good hearts, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps stories like this reach more people who might need them. Emily had left her home 3 hours ago after her boyfriend Luke screamed at her for the last time. The shouting, the slammed doors, the fear of being blamed for everything wrong in his life, it had finally broken her. She had endured it for years, always believing she could help him change. But tonight, when he threw her grandmother's photo frame against the wall and told her she was worthless, something in her heart snapped. She packed a small bag, grabbed her car keys, and drove without looking back. The highway was empty except for the sound of her wipers scraping across the glass. She didn't know where she was going, only that she had to get away. But as the gas gauge dipped below empty and her phone battery blinked its final red line, panic crept in. She turned off onto a rural road lined with trees, looking for any sign of shelter. That's when she saw it, a small cabin with a dim porch light glowing through the storm, the only sign of life for miles. She pulled over, heart pounding. She hesitated, debating if she should knock. What if the person inside wasn't kind? What if they sent her away? But the cold seeped through her clothes and the thunder cracked so loud it made her flinch. Desperation overcame fear. She ran up the steps, rain dripping from her hair, and knocked on the wooden door. There was silence for a moment, then the sound of footsteps. The door opened to reveal a man in his early 30s, tall and rugged, wearing a gray sweatshirt and jeans. His eyes were tired but gentle, and his brown hair was slightly disheveled as if he had been asleep. "Can I help you?" he asked, his voice calm yet cautious. Emily swallowed hard, her lips trembling. I'm sorry to bother you. My car's almost out of gas, and I don't have anywhere to go tonight. Can I stay here tonight?" He studied her for a moment. She looked exhausted, her eyes swollen from crying, her clothes soaked through. There was fear in her posture, but also something deeply broken, something that spoke of long nights and silent suffering. He nodded slowly. "Only if you stop crying," he said gently, stepping aside to let her in. She managed a faint, shaky smile, wiping her face with her sleeve as she entered. The cabin was warm, lit by a single lamp beside an old couch. The smell of coffee lingered in the air. He handed her a towel and motioned toward the fire crackling in the corner. "You can sit there and warm up. I'll get you something hot to drink." As she sat by the fireplace, the flames reflected in her teary eyes. For the first time that night, she felt safe, if only for a moment. The man returned with a mug of tea and set it beside her. "I'm Daniel," he said simply. "This place was my dad's. Been living here alone since he passed." Emily nodded softly. "I'm Emily." They sat in silence for a few minutes, listening to the rain beat against the windows. Daniel didn't ask questions right away. He just let her breathe. It had been so long since anyone had given her that simple grace, space to exist without judgment. When she finally found her voice, it came out small. "I left someone tonight, someone who wasn't kind." Daniel looked at her with quiet understanding. "You did the right thing," he said. "Sometimes walking away takes more strength than staying." His words broke something inside her again, but this time, the tears that followed felt different, cleansing, not drowning. She told him about Luke, about how the relationship had started with love, but turned into control, fear, and silence. About how she had stayed because she thought she could fix him. About how leaving felt like failure. Daniel listened, never interrupting, his gaze steady and kind. When she finished, he leaned back in his chair and said softly, "You didn't fail, Emily. You survived. That's the bravest thing a person can do." As the night wore on, the storm outside softened. Daniel offered her a spare blanket and the couch to sleep on. Before she lay down, she whispered, "Thank you for letting me stay." He smiled faintly. "Get some rest. Tomorrow's a new start." For the first time in years, Emily slept peacefully. Morning sunlight filtered through the curtains, painting the room gold. She woke to the smell of pancakes and coffee. For a moment she thought she had dreamed it all, but then she saw Daniel standing at the stove. "Morning," he said with an easy grin. "You looked like you needed a good meal." It was such a simple act, cooking breakfast, but it meant everything. No shouting, no guilt, just kindness. They ate together quietly, and for the first time Emily laughed. It startled her, a soft, hesitant laugh, but Daniel noticed and smiled. Over the next few days, she helped him around the cabin. They repaired the old porch steps, cleaned the shed, and went for walks through the woods that surrounded the property. Slowly, she began to open up about her dreams, how she once loved to paint, how she had given up her art when life got hard. Daniel listened with genuine interest. "You should start again," he said one evening. "You've got stories worth painting." Something in her shifted. She found herself sketching again, first on scraps of paper, then on canvases Daniel found in his father's workshop. Her hands trembled at first, but soon the brush moved with confidence. Her pain began transforming into color, her fear into light. Weeks passed. The bruises inside her heart started to heal, though scars remained. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the trees, Emily stood on the porch and said quietly, "I should probably leave soon. Find a place, start over." Daniel looked at her, his eyes thoughtful. "You can stay here until you're ready. No rush. But if you go, make sure it's towards something you love, not just away from what you fear." That night, Emily painted a new piece. A portrait of a woman standing in the rain, her face turned toward the light. It was her story, and she finally saw beauty in it. But life has a way of testing new peace. A week later, Luke found her. He showed up unannounced, shouting her name from the edge of the property. Emily froze as old fear crept back in. Daniel stepped outside, calm but firm. "You need to leave," he told Luke. "She's mine." Luke screamed, rage twisting his face. "No," Daniel said evenly. "She's not anyone's. And if you cared about her, you'd let her be free." Emily stepped forward then, trembling but resolute. "Luke, I'm done being scared. I'm not coming back." Her voice shook, but she stood tall. "Please leave." Luke's expression flickered, anger, confusion, disbelief. But when Daniel didn't move aside, Luke turned, muttered something under his breath, and walked away. Emily sank to the porch steps, crying, not from fear, but relief. Daniel knelt beside her, resting a hand on her shoulder. "It's over," he said softly. "You're free now." That night, as the stars shimmered above the quiet cabin, Emily realized she had found something she never expected, peace born not from escape, but from courage. She stayed for another month, rebuilding her strength, her confidence, her art. Before leaving, she painted one last picture for Daniel, a cabin under a starry sky, light glowing from within. On the back, she wrote, "Thank you for being the light when I was lost." Years later, Emily Carter opened a small art studio in Kansas City. Her first exhibition was titled "Only If You Stop Crying." It was a collection of paintings about healing, hope, and human kindness. She told the crowd that the title came from the night a stranger showed her compassion when she needed it most. Daniel attended that opening, quietly proud. When she saw him across the room, her eyes filled with tears, but this time they were tears of gratitude. She smiled and said softly, "You told me to stop crying once." He chuckled. "Looks like it worked." If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment about the kindest thing someone has ever done for you. It might inspire someone else to be brave or kind today. And before you go, drop A in the comments if you believe that sometimes the gentlest souls save lives just by being kind.